everybody. This is Getting Into Business. I'm your host, Clara Piedalue, and we are so excited to be here today. I'd like to give a warm welcome to Matt Gillen. Thank you, Matt, for being on the show, and welcome.
No problem.
Great. So, Matt, you're here with Brand Stamp and Candy Co. and a whole lot of experience to share with our viewers today.
A lot of experience, and I started when I was like 16, 17 painting a t-shirt, and that's kind of how I started. And
what's been some of the benefit for you? Because you started so young in business. You know, you were out on the hustle, like early on in high school. Like, what do you think? You know, because a lot of entrepreneurs wait until they're older, to start.
Yeah.
So what are some of the advantages you think of having started so young?
Well, you could fail, and it wouldn't have been a thing. We only had, a couple $100 each into the business, so if you fail, it's not a huge deal. But this is also pre-social media, which I always like telling that story because everybody's so into Facebook, Instagram, Snap, all that stuff now, where we had to do things differently back then. So I had a van that we had stickers on. I would sell, clothing out of my van. We had bike demos and fashion shows, and there wasn't, you couldn't just start a brand on, Shopify and start selling stuff. You actually had to hustle and grow a brand that way. So it's a little bit different now. I think it's a lot, I don't want to say it's easier to start a business now, but it is a little easier to start a business now because you have such a broad reach. Where then, you had to be traveling, you had to have, all these kind of people endorsing you, sponsors, models, and yourself. Where no one was using social platforms like they are now.
Wasn't there less noise back then though when you started up, versus today? There's so much noise to break through on the internet.
Yeah, I think a little bit of we started young. We had a cool fan base. People wanted to wear our stuff. We were sold in 15 stores. I remember doing I remember the day we hit over 10,000 shirts sold, stuff like that. But there wasn't as much noise because you didn't hear about things. Everyone was starting clothing companies. Everybody and their dog has a clothing company. But to stand out is the tough part. So that's why we have to do things like the bike demos, the fashion shows, just kind of community things where, I don't know if anyone's old enough, they might remember these, but, when we did a bike demo, it wasn't 2 or 3 people came. It was hundreds, or when we did Henderson, thousands. So you got out that way, and nobody was out with their phones and taking pictures and tweeting and sharing and stuff. It was just, you actually got to go down on your knee and talk to the kids and be like, hey, here's some stickers. And that's kind of the guerrilla marketing aspect of it, is kind of how you had to do it.
Yeah.
It still happens.
Yeah, because I was going to ask, it's one thing to have your brand online and to have an internet presence, but isn't it still important to have those guerrilla marketing techniques?
100%. With Brand Stamp Marketing, another business that I own, I still 100% believe stickers, pens, even a little fridge magnet works. We do social, we do websites, we do that kind of stuff, and those are very, very important. But you can't beat anything with standing at a light and seeing a sticker, or somebody on a car or something like that. That kind of stuff just works, and I believe it always will work. There's a time and a place for things, and there's still a place for a pen or a sticker or just somebody walking down the street with that shirt, right?
Yeah. Is that a lot? Does that have anything to do with reciprocity, where you actually hand something personally, it becomes an interaction, a personal interaction, where you're giving somebody something on behalf of your business, like a pen or a sticker, or a fridge magnet,
I think so. I think it's people talk about reviews and they send out emails about reviews and stuff like that. But when you actually look at someone and you shake their hand, I think that's more of a personal thing, and you'll get a better review or whatever you're after for that over shooting a hey, can you send me a review? Well, yeah, but I'll give you a 5-star or whatever star they want, they feel they need to give you. But when you see those good, hey, company X, they helped me with the situation, and I was able to make it to my son or daughter's event that night. That's where it's okay, she or he is writing that because that actually helped them, not because you said, hey, I wouldn't mind a review.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, so true. I think it's really neat that you mentioned community, because like for most of our listeners, we're small business owners or want to be small business owners, and a lot of small businesses obviously serve the community in which they reside.
Right.
So like how building those, getting in front of people in your community, like you can't emphasize the importance of that enough.
No, and I think just having little events that come up, like stuff like this. When I was 22 or something, I did a TEDx talk. I've been doing talks since I was in college and university. And I just like doing them because you get to tell your story, but as you're going, your story changes. I'm not going to have the same story that I did in my TEDx talk. I'm not going to have the same story that I had when I had to do my public speaking in my first semester of college, right? So everything kind of changes. So to keep people informed and updated and, oh, there's Matt Gillen. I didn't even know he was still, well, yeah, we're doing a marketing company, but the same ideas kind of are there.
Yeah.
Starting a t-shirt brand, you're marketing your own brand, but with a marketing company, you're marketing other brands. And I mean, we still do merch and clothing and stuff like that, and I've been doing that for, over 11 years. So we know a little bit about that kind of world because I started in that world. But everything changes. It's an interesting ride to do, and I've always loved talking to people about it because it's fun and it's different, and everybody's story is different, and I'm sure you have that here with other people that come online.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Everybody's journey into business is so different. That's what I really love about doing this show is learning how people got into it, how they took that leap of faith. What kind of fears they had to overcome.
Right.
I know when you were 16, the fears and doubts that you had, I'm sure, are very different than somebody who's starting a business at 50.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's still some common themes. Do you remember what you were most afraid of when you launched your first T-shirt when you were 16? Did you even have any concerns or?
I mean,
worries?
you really didn't care, right? I mean, all you were worrying about was to not fail was one, but again, we painted T-shirts, so to lose a couple $100, that was okay. At 16, 17, you're yeah, okay, that's a lot of money. But if people didn't want it, they didn't want it, so I didn't really care. And people hated on it. It's nowadays, it's back then. You start anything and everyone's going to hate on it, especially in the clothing world where, again, everyone and their dog has a clothing company. So to stand out was interesting. But then once the traction started to catch on, once we started to getting, some riders, a skier who was in X Games, and some of these riders who had some pretty big names wearing our stuff, then people are okay, it's not just, one of these clothing companies that people start and then they make 12 shirts and they're done. It's actually turning into something, and then we got 15 stores and then got an online store, and back then it wasn't, everyone didn't have that.
Yeah.
And then I remember when we started our Instagram page, that was a thing because not a lot of people had Instagram, and then we hit 100 likes on Instagram for the first time, and that was oh my gosh, only big deals were doing that.
Yeah.
And then the bike demos and stuff like that, and we started to stand out because of that stuff. And I guess when I first started, the biggest thing I was worried about failing was just not knowing when to stop between, okay, this is a business or is this fun?
Yeah.
And I had to make that call when I bought out my partner for the first time for 20 some bucks, and that's what the company's worth at when you're kids. But you have to make that call because either you keep your friendship or you do the business. And that's when I think I was worried about losing a friend over the business, and that was kind of an interesting time. To write a legal document when you're 17 or whatever.
You didn't 18. Go consult a lawyer for that one?
Oh gosh, no. We didn't even have insurance the first time we were doing bike demos. But this is also 11 years ago. This, it wasn't like it is today. Sometimes people just, nobody's selling, there was a young kid that was selling pop out of his locker or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then he got shut down, and then I remember there was a Facebook thing that said, well, Matt Gillen got to sell T-shirts out of his locker, how come this kid? And I was well, yeah, why could I over, the kid is just trying to hustle. He's just,
You know,
it's
he's
a
at
school
school.
district.
You know, he wants to say, kids want pop. There's no pop at school.
Yeah, he just found a need. He was an
entrepreneur.
entrepreneur. He just found a need and filled it. Maybe he could have done like healthier, but if you see
that
a
wouldn't
need,
have been nearly as much fun. That's why I was kind of controversial because pop wasn't allowed in school back in those days.
Yeah, but I mean, you just do what you want to, what you can do, and if you find a need, you fill it. I think I ventured off from your question there.
Yeah,
but
no, it's good. It's good. It's all good. Is it okay if I actually switch gears? I want to get into what I think our viewers really are wanting to learn about and understand, and I'd love to understand like a little bit about your take on this, and just to help people. There's a lot of like a confusion. So, could you explain to us what a brand is?
A brand. A brand is that's a deep question. A brand.
I was curious because, you know, for yourself, like in your evolution of branding, like when did, like, because you've been branding yourself as Matt Gillen, and then you're also branding Candy Co. at that time, and now Brand Stamp. I was like, where does it, you know, where does your brand as an individual meet or intersect with the brand of your business?
That's a good question. Personal branding over. I think personal branding now is something that. See, when I how do I answer this question? When I started Candy Co., I wanted to stay out of everything. If you look back on our YouTube channel or anything, it was more about the brand, the riders, the models, the faces of the business. But then I would say in the last 6 years-ish, I think the presidents, CEOs, owners, stuff like that of businesses are almost becoming. People want to know who they are. People want to know who the person behind the brand that they're buying are. So I think it's kind of changed with that. And I was like, you know, maybe we should make, you know, our videographer at the time and me sat down and we said, let's make a Matt Gillen brand. And we did. We made you know, my branding is my signature, and we have Matt's podcast. We were doing vlogging every week. We were doing a bunch of stuff, which, you know, I want to bring back the blogs. It's a timing thing. Like you know, we run a business. We got a lot of stuff going on to fill in the time for a vlog. There's, you know, sometimes there's not time to do everything you want to do, but you have to differentiate yourself as your own brand, and then your companies are kind of there. You know, not your sub brand, but they're there too. Because as an entrepreneur or a business owner or anything, you're not just probably doing one thing. You probably got other stuff on the go. Other businesses, other ideas, and then you need to branch that off. So you have your, you know, you, and then your sub brands. But I think just people care more about that personal branding now than they used to. Entrepreneurs and CEOs and presidents and stuff like that are becoming celebrities now, where before nobody really cared who the CEO of Pepsi was, like, right? But now they have their own following. They have to have their own marketing team. They have to have a presence, or they're gonna fade. It's something you have to do now. And it doesn't even, like, I wish I would have started a personal brand in 2008, because it would have been a thing.
That's like Gary Vee said. I wish I was sending emails in the 90s.
Yeah, and I mean, Mr. Gary Vee, he's doing that whole vlogging thing too. But I really do wish I would have. I wish I would have documented more stuff. I wish I would have videoed more stuff. I wish I would have been present in more things and took on more public speaking roles when I was younger that I got offered that I said no to, because I was like, no, business is the thing. Nobody cares about me. But it does switch a little bit. And, you know, you see it when you're talking, and if a young kid has a question, I never had that. So when I started, we painted a t-shirt. It was the luck of the draw. Some friends bought it, and then some stores, you know, and it kind of grew that way. But if there's ever a kid, and my door's always open at the office, we have people that'll come in and just talk and say, hey, what do you think about this? And I mean, it's a good idea. Like, don't just listen to me, but if there's anything I can help you with, that, because I've made mistakes, lots of mistakes. And if anyone ever says they haven't made mistakes, they're lying to your face. So, but if I can help anyone not make those same mistakes, then you know. All
right, well, that's an amazing segue. Let's do a lead-in. Like, can you share with us, like, one of the mistakes that you did make, and how you, you know, what that mistake was, you know, and the impact of it, and what, I guess essentially what you learned from it is really the important part of making a mistake, is learning from it.
I'd say the first mistake I made is got into business with my best friend.
Yeah, I hear that one a lot.
I don't regret it, but I'm glad that we are now friends and we're not in business. That's one of the biggest things I talk to people about is, yeah, it's good to have your best friend or whatever in your business, but then when there's an issue, how are you going to deal with that? Our friendship was worth more to me than the business, and I would still say that today. So real friends are hard to get, like real moving friends, I call them. So those are hard to get. So you don't ever want to risk that. But I would say that would be my first mistake. The second mistake was when we made a women's line of clothing called Innocence Clothing. That was a huge fail.
Yeah.
I lost $2,500 on that one. That was a lot of money when you're 18.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't so much that it was was that a mistake, or so much as you were just trying to put something out into the marketplace, and like when you put something out into the market, like you're hoping that it's going to be well received.
I think
but
we should
it's
have
not
had
always.
Somebody help with it that wasn't just us young gentlemen at the time. I mean, you need some input for a ladies' clothing line.
Yes.
But then what I also found out is, we did the whole Roxy Quicksilver thing, but what people just wanted to wear was Candy Co. So we just make, men's and women's clothes, and we didn't need a separate brand for that. So that's kind of so I guess there's a negative but a positive that came out of that. Another mistake.
I know there's like many.
Thinking that just because you like something doesn't mean that everyone else is going to buy it.
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. That's something that we all do. Every entrepreneur does it. Every person who's looking at starting their own business, they have a really great idea. They're so connected to it. They identify to it so much. So they just, and then they're asking their friends and family who's telling them, oh yeah, it's great, and we love it, great idea. But then once you actually get it into the marketplace, you're maybe told a very different story.
100%.
Or a very different response. How do people, did you ever do any product testing or testing in the marketplace?
No, we didn't.
No, you just went full in.
No. We didn't. There wasn't a thing like that. You didn't. I mean, there's areas where you have to do it, 100%. And now we do it, but with our marketing company and stuff. But I always come back to saying, when we're 16 years old, starting a business, you didn't. I don't want to say you didn't care, but you didn't care.
Yeah.
There wasn't a thing. It was let's make some stuff, and if it sells, it sells.
Yeah.
So there wasn't that. You put out a shirt. If somebody didn't like it, you're like, wow, I have 12 of these shirts.
Yeah.
They didn't sell. So then you just discount them or use them, whatever you need to do, and then you make something that actually people like. But biggest thing a hurdle that I had too was to realize that just because I like something doesn't mean it's going to sell, but to put my ego aside and then make something that I don't necessarily like that sold very, very well. There was a thing, I Hate Candy Co. So that bothered me for a little bit while I was in high school, but then, me and our graphic designer at the time, we sat down and we're like, hey, why don't we just... Ryan Sheckler's the most hated skateboarder ever.
Ever, yeah.
And he has I Hate Sheckler shirts. So we're like, hey, why don't we do this? So we made a run of I Hate Candy Co. shirts, and they sold amazing.
Yeah.
And then we had a whole line of the shirts, hats, and different designs and all kinds of stuff. So then it became uncool to hate us because it was our thing.
Yeah.
We sold lots of that stuff.
You took it back. You reclaimed it.
Yeah, reclaimed it. So now, I think
that's a good thing. They say that you're never truly successful until you have some haters. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When we painted the T-shirt, we had haters, and that was grade 11. So I think that haters come, and some of the people that hated on Candy Co or whatever, now when you see them, they shake your hand, and and this is one, I don't know if there's any younger people watching.
Yeah, I think there might be. All the kids are on summer vacation, so.
But don't worry so much about things. I worried so much about people hating on the brand or so on and so forth. Focus on the people that actually matter, or the people that you're helping or that want your product. Don't worry about the people. Everywhere there's people that are gonna hate on something, or hate on you as a person or the brand or whatever, and just go forward with what you're doing, because you can't worry about those little things. Look at the big picture. Because now I have those people that said I hate Candy Co. or didn't think I was going to do anything or made fun of me or whatever, and now they're coming up to me and shaking my hand and being like, hey, I saw your stuff, congratulations. I just had a guy in my office yesterday who was one of those, and now we're doing some business together, and it's kind of cool because he's like, wow, I didn't, like, my first shirt is hanging up in our office, and he's like, hey, that, and I'm like, yeah, like, it's where we started, and now we're going here, and as you grow up, you just stop caring
Yeah,
too.
you
Like,
really do. It's
who has
true.
time to just complain about everything?
Well, that's just it. You're just so busy. You only have so much headspace. Like, you just can't carry that around with you. You know, you just can't. I think one of the most freeing things, I also used to be so consumed with what everybody thought about what I was doing. And, you know, like, it's totally human nature, really natural. But I think once I got some really good advice, which was, you know, don't take advice from people who aren't in the ring. You know, that's Brene Brown. And even from before that, it's like, why are you listening to people that aren't doing it? They're not hustling. They're not trying to better themselves. They're not out and putting something out into the marketplace. So why would you be taking advice from those kinds of people? And like, once that really sunk in for me, it actually lifted a huge weight off my shoulders, a huge weight. Because now all of a sudden, like, their opinions didn't matter because they're not doing it. You know, I'd much rather hear what you have to say. You know, because you're out there doing it. Like, what you have to say has weight and meaning and experience behind it. You know, so
that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, if yeah.
Sure. So, hey, I wanted to ask you for our younger, because you got started when you were 16.
Yep.
There's a ton of 16, you know, high school students that want to get on the hustle, want to figure out how to make some money for themselves, you know, want to get out into the world. You know, what kind of, like, in today's modern era, you know, what are some good suggestions you could give, like, young kids? Or not young kids, but teenagers, you know, to get something going?
But if you have an idea, just go with it, because you have the time to just fail.
Yeah, you do.
Everyone has a failure. You don't have to. You know, I talk to some people and they say, I want to have $1 million by the time I'm 25, and it's like, yeah, but man, if you're looking at life that way, it's not fun.
No, you definitely want to keep it fun.
And I mean, you talked about Gary Vee, and I mean, if you look at Mr. Mark Zuckerberg, how he lives, I mean, these guys don't live lavish.
Mm-hmm.
They're growing their business,
Mm-hmm.
right? So don't worry about what your friends have or anything like that. Just do your own thing. If you have an idea for company X, just go for it, because you can fail at it. It doesn't. Yeah. I mean, just don't remortgage your parents' house on it, but I mean, just go with it.
The biggest sale of your life, selling your parents.
Yeah.
for some angel money right there.
And just go with, start small. Everybody wants they want to be huge overnight, and it doesn't happen that way. I mean, sometimes it does, but these are the 0.1% of the world, and you can't look at life that way. You get, I sold 4 shirts, ordered 8. And then we did 12, and then I sold the 12, ordered 24, and I just kept going that way. Never gotten bank loans. We never gotten anything like that, because I don't want to owe people money, but if you fail, then you have this debt behind you.
That's right.
It's okay to just start something with a little bit of money, get a paper route, and I mean, I don't know how kids are making money now, but like, just get, and then put a little bit of money into it and grow it yourself.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
if it does turn big, you don't want to have to owe anything to anyone. Just do your own thing.
And it keeps your independence and like in your freedom, not having that money to reinvest into the business and not paying back.
And if it's your idea, keep it as your idea. Mm-hmm. Don't invite friends because you want to hang out.
Yeah. Okay, great. Hey, you guys, if anybody is listening and they've got a question for Matt, feel free to write it. If you're watching on Facebook, just throw it on the Facebook feed, and we're going to take some questions here. If anybody's got anything they want to ask Matt today, by all means, throw it down in the Facebook feed, and we'll take your questions. Matt, I got a question for you about like work, because you've worked with a lot of businesses now.
Yeah, 457.
Yeah, 457. So, like, what's the one thing that, like, not maybe for every business, but for most businesses, what's the thing that every business is kind of doing wrong? Like, when they come to you, they're coming to you saying they're like, okay.
Well, I think everyone, we talked about the personal branding. I think, it's okay to be that. And some people say, well, personal branding, am I just pushing myself? Am I, are people going to care? Who cares if they don't care?
Yeah, that's true.
We were getting, a couple of my first vlogs, we were getting no views, and that's fine. But it's still having those content, because now I can go back on those vlogs and be like, hey, we did that. Or it's kind of interesting that we were shooting those vlogs, and some of our vlogs were shot better than some people's videos, like company videos. Like, they were high-end vlogs. But, I mean, it's okay to need help. It's okay to ask for help.
Yeah, totally. We were talking a little bit about that before we went on air. Do you want to share a little bit about what you were going through just recently with Candy Co?
Well, so we did our 10-year anniversary, and we had a
nice,
party.
Congratulations.
And stuff like that. And then we released an updated Candy Co logo, and that same logo that got a little bit updated. Our graphic designer at the time did that logo, a little cleanup. But then the logo, the logo that you base it on, I did, and it took me 6 months to make this logo. And all it is a font and hooks on the C, because we had hooks on the C when we first started and stuff like that. But I wish I would have had took our graphic designer 10 years that made that logo. Would have been, oh boy, here we go, 6 years ago,
yeah.
something like that. And he had these ideas, and I was like, no, I just want to do it this way. And I wish I would have just took that, because sometimes you got to step away from that and just let somebody help you. Mm-hmm. It's okay to let somebody help you. It's okay to have an outside perspective looking in. Mm-hmm. It's okay for your business to have a marketing coordinator that works with a marketing agency. Mm-hmm. It's okay to just work with a marketing agency. It's okay to have a napkin drawing and have to ask somebody to vectorize it. It's okay for that stuff, because everything doesn't just your business doesn't just turn into Apple in 2 days.
Yeah.
You have to grow your social presence. You have to grow your website. Your website's your business, your digital business card, so that has to look good. Your business card can't just be a Vistaprint special. People understand that if you're just going to give them basic, they might think you're basic. Mm-hmm. So have something different. Have a little square card. Have a thicker card. Have shine or cutout, whatever. Because if your business is quality, your first impression needs to be quality. Your Instagram, your Facebook, everything has to be quality. Your products you're providing are quality.
That's a good lesson for me, actually. I'm that's really sinking in for me, because for my business, I like to be, obviously, as a business broker, I want to represent top-notch businesses, and so I could certainly infuse a little more quality into my
first impression is huge. Because if it's kind of a junky card, they might just throw it away. But if it's something interesting, they might keep it and look at it and be like, wow, this is kind of we've done wood business cards, we've done
leather, I'm sure.
Leather. I know a friend of mine, he did beef jerky business cards one time. Because it's different, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's grabbing that attention and making you think. You got 3 impressions you got to make. So maybe they saw your Instagram, your business card, and your kids' soccer team sponsor on the back of their jerseys, and then maybe I need new flooring or a new roof or so on and so forth, right? So marketing needs to work all together, and I wish that more people just would ask for help, and not even just saying me. There's lots of people in town or Calgary, Edmonton, or whoever that can help with marketing, but it's okay to ask for help, right? And it doesn't always. People sit down in my office and they're like, I need to do SEO and some Google stuff, but I don't have thousands of dollars, and it's it doesn't have to be that.
Yeah. We
can make anything work for your budget. Obviously, it's going to help if you have more budget, but you got to start somewhere.
You do have to start somewhere.
And let's meet in, a month or whatever our term is, and then maybe grow that a little bit, right? A lot of these stores didn't just start off as, 5,000 square feet places. They started off as smaller, and then you grow into that. You don't start off with a size 10 shoe. You start with a smaller shoe, right? You grow.
Nice.
So,
hey, speaking of getting started, for people that are watching, that have that are really starting to look at their idea and getting ready to put it out into marketplace, and then maybe they're just looking at considering what their brand is. What are some really great preliminary or get you started type questions to help understand or explore what your brand is?
Questions of what your brand is?
Yeah.
If you're starting off and you're just wondering what you need to do, it's always a good thing to ask, is that viable in what you're kind of doing, right? I always used yogurt shops as an example, because there was a time where the one on 3rd was the only one, and everybody went there, and I'm sure he was cleaning house. And then 400 just pop out of nowhere, and it's well, I don't know if 100,000. Oh, we weren't 100,000 people. Let's say we were 90,000 people then. Not that many people, the market was too small to have that many places, right? So look at your market and stuff like that. If you're outside of Lethbridge, then that's a different story. But see if there's a need for it, and ask some people. It's okay to post on your Facebook about your logo, or, hey, what do you guys think? Because they'll give you the real answer. Not your, my mom's my biggest fan, and if I say, hey, Mom, I'm going to start I don't know, something that a pogo stick company. She's gonna be like, yeah, that's great.
That's amazing.
That's amazing,
Oh,
but
that's a wonderful
that's
idea.
probably not the best idea for me to be doing. So I would ask just some generic people, our customers or friends or something like that, and give me your honest opinion. If it's a bad idea, tell me.
Yeah.
You're not. I'm gonna go to bed like a baby that night, as you're not hurting my feelings. But I'd rather know now than before I sink time, energy, money, energy, and time, because you can't get more time. So tell me.
Tell me. So.
Nah, that's a bad idea. Okay.
Yeah.
Why? Well, nobody cares about pogo sticks. Okay, then maybe that'll resonate in my head a little bit, right?
Yeah. Totally.
Tell your friends the real story. You know, like if I still have people tell me things still, like, hey, I saw that you did this. I don't think that was a good idea. Okay. Thanks for telling me.
Yeah,
right?
you need, because you want to be constantly getting the feedback. You need to be constantly getting feedback from people that that are your potential customers. Not everybody is a potential customer though. Not everybody's going to be into your idea. So how do you really, what's a good way to maybe you start out really vague, and then how do you figure out that your customer, like how do you try to get to, okay, this is the vast group of customers, but really my customers are only this many. Like how do you kind of maybe start from here and then get down to
I think in every business that's a different question, but asking people. And maybe going to your competition, like, hey, how's things? Is it busy?
Yeah.
Researching a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some businesses out there. I know, and I'm not going to say what they are, but there's some businesses out there that I'm sure were like, if I didn't have 50 years behind me, and I probably wouldn't have started this, right? Because it's just a hard business, and stuff changes all the time.
Yeah, business has changed dramatically.
Yeah, the brick and mortar has definitely changed.
Hey, you guys, if you got any questions for Matt, if you can, go onto the Facebook Live feed and type it on in, and we'll be happy to take your questions. Just wanted to plug that. We're going to try to get some interaction here going on with you. So if you need to know something, you've got a burning business question, just type it into the feed here, and we'll be happy to get Matt to answer some questions for you. So we were talking about. Oh gosh, I wanted to segue something into
brick and mortar.
Brick and mortar. Oh yeah, how much business has changed? So business, I hear the older generation talk all the time that like business is harder than it used to be. Business is more challenging than it used to be. Business is not as profitable as it used to be. I mean, I hear older generations speaking about this on the regular. Is there any truth in that, in your opinion, or is it that there's just been a massive shift? And that maybe people in an older generation aren't paying attention to.
Whew, you got some good questions here.
I mean, it's just like commentary.
But
it's your opinion.
I think business. And I might get people that'll hate this answer. I think business is easier to get into now, but it's a lot harder to make a dollar now. So for our business per se, and a lot of business that we do marketing for. There's so much fluff out there, like you said earlier. To grab that customer's attention, you've got about 15 seconds. So in that 15 seconds, you either got to sell your product, tell your story, or show your brand. Where before, there was only one place to get your bike, or two. Now you can go online and probably get a better price than anywhere in town. And you might have to build it yourself, but okay, I can build it myself, but my time isn't actually worth something, but it is. Instead of paying, this bike's $500 online, but it's $650 in town. Okay, how's business changed? Well, a lot more people are buying that bike online, but people are also buying it in at a local shop, but. So the local shop numbers go down, but the online goes up. But then you still need to build that bike. So you still need that company place to maybe make it or put it together or service it.
Sure. Well, I mean, I just want to ride my bike. I don't know how to put it all together.
Yeah. So when a bike comes in a box, you want to ride it right then, but you need to build it properly.
Yes.
So as long as businesses are adapting to the change, Toys R Us doesn't adapt to change.
No, my God.
Could have been on Amazon. Blew the bucket.
They blew it. There's a really great podcast on
that. That's a Blockbuster too. All this kind of
yeah.
stuff. Their ego is the biggest thing. Being able to adapt to change. You can't fight online sales. Every $1 billion that Amazon makes is coming away from brick and mortar stores.
Yeah,
so either you can complain about it, shut down your place, or adapt to it.
Yeah.
That bike shop, okay, well maybe you need a smaller place, but then you can just be more in service.
You focus 100% on the service.
On 100% on the service,
yeah.
or sell stuff that's maybe a little bit different, or you know, maybe the online stuff isn't exactly the same as the higher end stuff. You know, there's all those kind of variables, but just adapting to the change, and being okay to adapt.
Yeah, and being okay to adapt. Yeah.
And getting yourself on social, like. It's okay to maybe sell that 650 bike online.
Yeah.
Right? Because maybe somebody somewhere else might buy it.
Yeah.
Look at all the avenues you have. But this might be the first time that I say this, because I haven't said it in any other interview. But I guarantee, I shouldn't say guarantee. I bet you in like 10 to 15 years, the brick and mortar will come back as a because people will get sick and tired of not. When you were a kid and you walked into Blockbuster, it was fun to look at those videos.
It
was a tangible thing you could touch in your
I would
hands
agree.
and you
Going
walk
to
around.
Blockbuster was an experience, the experience of my adolescence.
But now you sit on Netflix and you flip through and you're just you're beeping and you know.
No, maybe.
Where I think even online, I think there's gonna be a paradox where it comes a little bit back. I bet you it will, because people will get sick and tired of not being able to walk into these stores, to not be able to actually test ride that bike, to not be able to touch that jean coat in real life, right? Stuff like that. I think it will come back a little bit.
Oh, I'm so happy for your optimism, because I agree. Like, people want to have experiences, you know. Like, I mean, sure, you have experiences online, but that's a very different experience, obviously, than what. And people are always kind of craving more. You know, they want more. So right now, everyone's so pumped because like this whole experience online, it's still really new. I mean, it's only been like 10 years, like even 5 years that we've really augmented how much knowledge there is out there, how many experiences we can have, how much interaction we can have online. I mean, it's amazing. It's totally a beautiful thing. But I think people always want something new, something different. So I agree. Like, you know, the trends and styles, you know, come in and out, right?
I think it'd be really cool to do, and I bet you it will happen.
That people are going to want that tactile,
like
face-to-face.
In what world 6-7 years ago would you say, I bet you that people will stop even going on Facebook?
Oh my gosh, nobody.
But now, I know businesses that are on Facebook. I know people that don't have personal Facebooks.
Yeah,
I
that's
know
true. Well, there's been another
they don't
shift.
want to.
They don't want to. So that's sort of what's funny. So let's jump into social media.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's jump into social media here. So let's talk about let's talk about Facebook. Where is Facebook going? Has Facebook aged out, and is it even relevant anymore?
Oh boy. See, now you're starting talks where there's going to be, this is the haters in there.
I know. Okay, I don't think Facebook's going anywhere in Lethbridge. Like, Lethbridge is a big Facebook town. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I think the world is.
Yeah.
I think the way that Facebook is changing. Well, I'll give you a funny story about Facebook. So when we started, there was Facebook, but no businesses were on it, and I don't know if you would. You would remember, but I don't know if some of the kids would, but. So everyone on advertisements now and commercials, you just see the Facebook logo, the Instagram, the Twitter, But there was a time where people would go Facebook.com/ their business, and they would actually put that on the commercials because nobody was using it.
Yeah.
And then
they had to educate.
They had to educate people to go to their page. Now it's just you do it. But you have to educate that, and people didn't do it. People were not on social media. And I remember one of the first times, so we started off 11 years as a clothing company, and I had an airline company reach out to me to make clothing and do some marketing for them, and that's how I got into the corporate side. Mm-hmm. We called it Candy Co Corporate, CCC or whatever.
Candy Co Corporate.
And then we changed it to BrandSem because it makes more sense to separate the businesses. Mm-hmm. But I was having a meeting with a guy, and I forget what business he owned, and I was like, hey, we should start some, and I have the same talk with Snapchat now. Hey, we should do some Facebook ads, and he was like, no, paper, radio, and I was like, okay, yeah, like, and you gotta remember radio. This is the huge, everyone's on paper and radio. Like, now people are pulling away from it, but back then everyone was on it, and where was I going with this?
So he was like, no Facebook ads.
Oh, I was like, let's put Facebook ads. And they were super cheap. Like, Facebook ads are pretty cheap right now, but they were super cheap. And he's like, no. I come back to him a year later, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And the rates already, like, went crazy. Mm-hmm. Not crazy, but crazy for Facebook. And he's like, well, what about the old rates? And I said, man, I told you we should have done this then. Trust me next time. So now, anytime we meet with him, if I say let's go on Snapchat or let's do a video, he's on.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, yeah, I trust you, because I'm not telling people we should do this because I just want to make money. I'm also doing it because if you don't do it now, someone else, your competition is going to do it.
Well, that's your job is to know. That's your job is to know where people are, where the trends are hitting, like where your most likely customer is. Like, that's your job to know.
And realize that we're not Vancouver and Toronto here.
Yes, that's right.
You
We
know?
are definitely not.
So
not
things that might work there don't work here. But you know, and Snapchat is the new way with that. I mean, Snapchat is kind of going down.
Yeah,
but
I see that too.
when you see Snapchat ads that are local, you're like, whoa, that's crazy, because you're like, it's different.
Yeah.
It grabs your attention.
It does, absolutely.
And even some like LinkedIn stuff, and let's marketing is one of those things where you can have fun with, and let's try some things, because certain campaigns, the Just Do It thing with Nike, like that was just, they just tried it and it worked, right? Like food too, like some of the best things that have ever come up were just tested. You don't always know things are gonna work unless you try.
That's right.
There was a time where people weren't releasing videos on Facebook.
Yeah.
And then somebody did it and there was like, whoa.
Oh.
And there was a time before people were vlogging, and then
somebody did it.
Somebody did it. There was times before social media, and then all it took for that first company to do, yeah, we're gonna go on Facebook, and people were like, nah, that's not gonna work. And now it works.
So, like, how important is it for people that are trepidatious to get on social for their personal brand? We'll kind of go back to that, because I know right now it's really important to have a personal brand.
Yep.
For everything that we talked about already up to this point. Like, what are, people that are scared to get on? Like, what advice do you have to help them, like, kind of get over their fear? I would assume most people their fear is coming from
an ego.
I like an ego. Oh, I don't want to be put myself.
Yeah, they don't want to put themselves out there, or they don't want to.
Because they're scared, right?
Say, oh, I do this, but it's okay because everyone else is doing it somewhat. Like I said, I think the personal branding is very, very important. I think if you do it a certain way, there's a lot of people doing personal branding, marketing people, businesses, even students now. I mean, when we're hiring someone, I'm looking at everything.
Oh gosh, yeah.
One of our video guys, Keegan, I didn't even look at his resume till a year in. I looked at his digital presence, and then I realized that he did some jobs that actually were kind of cool, but I didn't look at his resume. I was more interested. I'm a handshake person, and I first impressions, but then I want to look at your Instagram and your Facebook and see kind of what you're up to, and then you can make a call on that. But not that that's your personal brand, but it kind of even if you're not trying to make it, your social platforms are.
It is. It's so true. And so, like, you're kidding yourself if you don't think that you already have a personal brand out there.
Yeah.
Like, you already do. And even if it's just your Facebook page that you're sharing with your friends and family, and you're still, that's your digital footprint.
Right.
So why not? It's like, why not just do it?
Try it. If people are going to hate it no matter what. I mean, people are going to make fun of you. I have some of my best friends make fun of me in my blogs or vlogs and stuff. But at the end of the day, those are the same friends that are at my 10-year event that shook my hand and said, Matt, out of anyone, you did it. Did what we did for 10 years. And that means a lot, because your friends are always going to razz you.
True.
And honestly, I would rather have that. Some of my best friends are the ones that give me the most criticism. And I'd rather hear that.
Yeah.
But, if you don't do it, you're not going to, maybe there's a 16-year-old kid that watches one of my vlogs or something I post or this or anything that I did, my TEDx talk, and is like, I want to start my company now. And then it's all worth it. It's all worth the drama and the BS that we had to go through to get where we were now.
Absolutely. I wouldn't change a thing or have it any other way.
I would change a few things, but I wouldn't change a lot. I would still keep everything the way that I did it, because it is a fun ride, and I wouldn't change anything with how experiences happened, because it makes you who you are. You can't go back, but you can change things forward. So,
hey, that kind of brings up an interesting point that I really like to talk about. Like, have you noticed like a parallel, like with regards to your business development and your personal development? Have you noticed any parallels there? Because I do really think that when you go into business, it's such a journey, but there's also like a big personal development journey that's kind of happening alongside. Would you? Yeah. I would say, as the branding for Candy Co. was a lot different when I was 16 than it was when I was 25. The marketing for Candy Co. was a lot different than it was when I was 25.
your own experiences and what people are buying change. Knowing that, hey, you know, you need to have quality products when you get a little bit older. You start to realize that it's more important than at the beginning, where we went to Michael's and grabbed some paint and painted a T-shirt. So as you grow up, your business grows too. And another thing with the branding is our branding has also changed. I think about six times, because as we grew up, we realized, hey, you know, we can't really do the CC thing anymore, because, you know, when I was 16 and drew off of Chanel, it doesn't really work anymore. So then you have to have your own branding, and then, you know, update things, and fonts change, and all that kind of stuff over time. To do a logo refresh is really, really good. You can still keep your concept, your colors, and everything, but all we did is on Candy Co, we thinned out the font, and we sharpened the hook on the C, and it became our new logo. Pepsi twists their logo a little bit, cost them $1 billion.
It's a twist. $1
but
billion twist.
All those kind of things change, and even look at Kit Kat. I mean, all these Pringles, like, their logo stays the same, the general idea, but it does update, and it keeps you refreshed, right? Because then you can get a new audience, a new, you know, there's still the people that love that old Pringles, but then the new, you know, the new generation, it needs to follow what the trends that are out right now.
I would say, like, so is that why Pepsi, those big brands, are changing their logos just ever so slightly? Is it to fit with an aesthetic that the younger generation is following, or?
I would say so, but then there's brands like Coca-Cola that never do it.
They never do it.
And there's a reason that they never did it, because in the 90s when they tried it, it didn't work out so good. Or the 80s or whenever that was.
Oh, yeah.
But there's anything that I've talked about, or people look up stuff online, yes, those are right, or I could be right in some aspects, but there's always businesses that don't follow the norm.
Yes,
Coca-Cola is one of them. Kids these days would never even remember that, you know, Apple computers almost went bankrupt.
They did.
Nobody wanted an Apple.
Nobody
Those
did.
colored ones, nobody wanted them. There was a time where Marvel was almost done, and now it's the biggest thing ever. You know, it's one thing I like to tell people that come into our office, or our staff, new staff, and younger generation, is you can't look at things right now, because there was a time where Marvel was almost done. There was a time where Apple was almost done. There was a time where, you know, a lot of these big brands were almost closing their door because of the way that things change. And you know, comic book, I had comic book friends in high school, and I'll tell you right now, I bet you comic book kids are a lot more cool than they were then, because then they were not cool. And then, you know, something in a generation changes. Big Bang Theory happens. Then it becomes cool to be a comic book nerd, or to read comic books, right? Those kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Those kind of stigmas are kind of gone, and stuff like that happens, and then it becomes cool to like comic books, and then, you know, Comic-Con grows, and all it takes is that one little thing to change a generation on thinking, and it could be something little as Pepsi's logo twist. It could be something as Coca-Cola not doing anything. So there's a plus and a minus, but not everything is always right. And just because Gary Vee posts something doesn't mean you gotta go quit your job and sell your house and start a business. But just because I say something doesn't mean to do something, right? You have to follow your gut and realize where you are. We're not in Silicon Valley. We're not in Vancouver. We're not in Toronto. We're our own thing. But there is a world outside of far west and the Lethbridge Airport. You know, it's the world isn't this city. It goes beyond that.
Especially if your business is online. Especially if it's online.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have to be online. But even the way that certain thinking, like, it does go beyond that. Don't just think that, you know, if you have an idea that it's going to stay here, because it could go everywhere. Right? Second Cup Coffee started in Lethbridge.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Second Cup started in Lethbridge?
And we don't even have one.
Yeah.
Right? So stuff like that. There's a lot of people that are doing amazing things in Lethbridge, and they venture off. There's people doing amazing things all over Canada. World, right? And some people forget about that.
I know, it's true. So a lot of people tend to hold tend to suffocate their ideas. They hold on to their ideas so tight because they're so nervous that somebody's going to copy them. But if
they probably will.
Your idea is free, they probably will.
They probably
You've got
will.
to set them free because because there are so many engaged, active, creative people around the world, like you've had this great idea, I guarantee 100 people around the world have had the same great idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's really just about who's able to get it to the market first.
Who's doing it?
Who's doing it? And
who's doing it
right.
first?
Yeah.
And the first to market is very important. A better product is more important.
Mm-hmm.
But a can of Coke is just a can of Coke, but you put $1 billion marketing budget behind it, then it becomes the iconic Coke, right?
That's correct.
Right? I mean, Jones Cola is a little, I like it better, but Coca-Cola is everywhere.
Oh, they've got the market.
But they
want
have
it
the
to be
marketing.
the most consumed beverage over water.
Yeah. So marketing is super important,
is.
and how you do it is also important. But take risks, have fun. If you have an idea and you think someone's already done it, somebody probably already has done it.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Somebody probably has it, but it doesn't matter if somebody's already done it. You're going to do it different. You're
looking at it differently.
How many times do we retell the same stories in our culture over and over and over again? Like it's just retold in a new way, in a new voice, with a new aesthetic, and that's what keeps it modern and current.
And maybe it takes you to make have that idea,
mm-hmm.
and your friend to put his or her little bit of input in it, and then it changes your whole thinking of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a scene in that Social Network, that Facebook movie, where that relationship status.
Yeah, your
where
relationship status.
It's just an idea that comes in, and it's basically one of the main reasons why people were joining these social networking is it's important. Are they in a relationship? Are they not? Are they single? Are they that's it, and he runs to his computer, adds it, and then he finishes it.
Yeah.
It didn't happen like that in real life, but in the movie it shows that, and it's kind of cool because one little thing can make you just. That's the last piece.
And that's the last.
Because he didn't know that piece.
No, he
right?
didn't have it. He didn't think of that.
He didn't think of that at all. Did Pepsi start off thinking they were going to make breakfast and food? No, but I mean, it just, hey, we should do this. Yeah, let's try it. Let's try it.
Yeah, and then he was open to take that, knew that it was a good idea,
yep.
and just to run with it. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, so we're just going to close out the show here, but before we do, I'd like to learn a little bit more about Brand Stamp. Can you? What's Brand Stamp? Where can we find you? What do you guys do? What gets you guys excited to show up to work in the morning?
So Brand Stamp is a marketing agency. We do everything from pens to websites to social media to logo design to merch. Kind of a one-stop shop for actual all marketing. There's people that do websites, there's people that do logo design, but we do kind of everything, and we have 6 people in the office, and everybody has their specialty. And I don't make videos, I don't do social media. We have people that do that are very, very good at it, and I trust them in doing that. But it's just, we were doing this kind of thing with Candy Co. We were doing it for some businesses under the Candy Co. corporate, and then it was like, hey, let's make a marketing company. Like, we might as well. We didn't always have video and social media. We kind of started. We're not going to sell something unless we know we can do it.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to do social media if I didn't know we had our team to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So we grew with that, and we've been doing it, I think, 2.5 years now, and it's been fun. I mean, we've been doing marketing since Candy Co. days for businesses and stuff, but under that name, 2.5 years, and it's been fun. And we're in the old Motor Supply building.
Oh, nice. So for those who don't know the old Motor Supply building,
old Salvation Army building, and if you don't know where that is, just go on Google brandstamp.ca. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that.
Yeah, I've been to your office. You have a sick office. It's really
people seem to like it.
It's a really beautiful space. It's beautiful. If you haven't gone in already, definitely worthwhile to go in and make an appointment to go check it out.
And we have the very open.
Yeah, it's open concept.
We don't have if you're coming to talk to me about your life problems, Allie, Kenzie, Taylor, Michaela, they're all hearing it. It's all there because we don't have walls. It's a big open. It's like a Vancouver feeling. It's very open space. Right?
Yeah, really modern, really contemporary. It's got a great vibe when you walk in.
Even the building, it's a cool building, and it's nice to. If anyone, I don't know how many viewers would remember this, but our old Candy Co. office, we never had windows. It was a really small little box. We didn't have AC. We didn't have windows. We barely had a lock on the door. We had no internet. We had no heat. So in December 30th, you're having a meeting, shivering. But
it was a very small upgrade from the garage.
Well, we didn't even have a garage. We went from van to office to now the office, and you just slowly grow with that. But you see how things change, and And now we have windows. That's the big thing, is we got windows.
Oh, we got lots of big, beautiful windows. So hey, can you just before we check out, I would love to know, like, what are you like? What's your genius? You know, what gets you excited to get out of bed in the morning? You know, can you share a little bit about your passion?
Gets me out of the Sky. My dog has to go to the bathroom, so she gets me up. But I would say being able to be a part of people's businesses, to be able to go from the napkin drawing to the end product is always fun. To grow their branding, their website, to sit down with a customer and be like, hey, you're helping me. That's a big thing. You know, it used to be when Candy Co. Was a lot bigger and we were in 15 stores, you'd see somebody in Calgary or Edmonton or whatever, all around the world tagging Candy Co. And you'd be like, wow, that's so cool. Now it's, that's still, that aspect is still there. But it's cool to be growing a business because you don't know even they sometimes don't know what it is yet. Mm-hmm. And you're growing with them and seeing the expansion of it.
Nice.
And the thing that gets me up in the morning is knowing that every day I don't know what I have meetings and stuff like that, but I mean, you'll just be sitting there and somebody will just walk in the door. Yesterday, that gentleman that I went to high school with starting an app, and like I didn't even, it just happened.
Yeah.
You don't even know what's going to happen, right? So
the unexpected.
The unexpected, and that's the fun thing is, you know, they're late nights and
early mornings,
and everybody's busy. All of our staff is crazy busy. We have stressful times, we have happy times, and it's all worth it because at the end of the day, we get to see the branding and the marketing that we've done. And when customers come in and they say, you know, you changed our branding for good, and or our sales have gone up or anything like that, that's what it. Or a kid starting a clothing company because he wants to beat Candy Co.
Yeah.
That's another that we don't have time for that story, but that's something that happened too, and it makes you smile because they hated on you, but they started something to kind of beat you.
Yeah.
Now it's marketing and helping to grow those businesses. And the cool thing about the marketing world is everybody kind of knows each other. Even our competition and stuff like that, I know who they are. I've met with them. We've had lunch together. And we get referrals from them and vice versa. Yes, we do websites, but let's say, a huge online pizza place wanted a website, might refer it to a friend of mine that maybe is, where that's all they do is that, because the risk to reward might not be there, right? Mm-hmm. So, and helping them out. Like we do websites, but we don't have team of 20 people in house that's all they focus on is the back end of, in case something goes down or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, you still have a pretty big team in place. I was actually surprised to see how many people are part of Brand Staff. It's a great team. You need the team to do it, and you need your photographer, your social media manager, you need your videographer, you need your merchandiser, you need your SEO specialist, you need your website, you need all those people, because again, I don't go and do videos. Yeah. I don't know how to do them. I know it looks good and I need to approve them for the customer, but I don't know how to shoot them. I don't know. I'm always amazed at photographers, how they take such good work. I'm amazed at our social media team at how they can come up with content, because to me, on my personal page, sometimes it's hard for me to come up with a caption, right? Yeah. So I'm always amazed by that stuff, and to grow with your team. And I mean, we've had some of our teams since almost day one. Yeah. And it's just kind of cool to see that growing, and we're always looking to expand and grow and grow our business. And we don't just do Lethbridge, we do all over Canada. We do marketing for companies in Ontario. We do logo design for a company in Saskatchewan. We do stuff like, it's not just here, because now the playing field is the world, and you can do anything. Yeah. That's really great. So hey, where's a great place to go learn more about Brand Stamp? Where should we get you?
I would say Instagram. Keep following us on Instagram.
All right.
We're always up on that. Go check out the website. Check us all out on those platforms at Facebook and stuff. Yeah. And again, the door's always open if any young entrepreneurs want to walk in and have a convo.
Oh, I know. I wanted to talk about that actually, because we still have one more minute. But I know you're really passionate about inspiring youth, and you did that event. It was kind of like a Dragon's Den.
Wilson,
at Wilson Middle School. What was just to kind of share with the audience, because I do junior achievement, and I was really, when I saw that you had done that, I was like, oh, right on. It's great to give back to the kids and inspire them. When you what was the best pitch? Did the kids pitch you?
Oh yeah, and some of them are real ideas, and I think the best one that we ever heard, and I've been doing that since I started at 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I still think the best pitch was this kid who he had this idea for an app company, an app that was for teachers, that only teachers could get what was it, like their books on this app, but it was at a discounted rate, but it was only for teachers.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, this is like, I think this was the first year, so it's like 4 years ago, and it was it's not as easy as it was now. And for this young kid to think of this idea, regardless if there's one out there or not, I don't know, I'm not a teacher, there could be, I'm not sure. But I was like, that's so smart of you to think of that.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't thinking of it from an end user perspective, or me and you. He was looking at it from a licensing deal for teachers. And I was like, that's so genius.
That's so genius.
Microsoft isn't a billion-dollar company because they sell computers. They're because of the licensing. And he thought about this, and I was like, that's genius. Regardless if this idea works or not, you're going somewhere. And he actually came back to the office, and me and our graphic designer at the time sat down with these kids and kind of just talked to them and said, if you ever need help, let us know. And it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And that one, the Wilson Dragon's Den, I think is one of the coolest things I've done. And I've done some cool stuff with the TEDx and talking in universities and stuff like that. But that one was really, really cool because, yes, there was some that just were there to make their grade or whatever.
Yeah,
but some of the kids really took pride in it.
Really took pride in it.
And I wish I would have had that as a kid, because
me too.
if I would have had dragons on the other side of me where I literally could go ask them questions, I might be 10 years ahead of where I am now, right? Like, it's just cool.
It's just cool. I agree.
There wasn't those things before.
Do you think they're going to expand that program? Or
I would
love to.
I said this to the instructor, teacher, whatever you want to call it, for that class. I think they should be a real one of those. And I would put, we'd get some entrepreneurs that have a little bit of money that want to put into it, but I would love to do that.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really, really cool, and some local TV channels should grab onto that, and it would be really, really cool to have people really put some real cash, even if it's like for me when I was a kid, if somebody would give me $1,000 to help me, and I mean, there's people have that kind of money that we could actually put into youth, right?
All right. Well, hey, Matt and I are talking about this future idea to put together for some middle schools around Lethbridge.
Grab onto it. Somebody do it.
I am in. I am definitely in. I certainly believe in kids and their creativity and what they bring to the world, and definitely all about supporting that.
Yeah.
So, hey, thanks, Matt, so much for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you.
We definitely got into it. Thanks for sharing your story. Yeah. And especially thank you guys for watching. I'm Clara Piedalue from Getting Into Business, and you guys have yourselves a great day, and go out there and tell your personal story online. All right, thanks so much. Thanks, Jesse. Are we good? Thanks, Jesse. That was great.
That was fun.